Taking pictures isn't the end of the job when shooting for press. Find out how the pros do it quickly. Hi, my name is Rich Dyson from Edinburgh Photography Workshop, and this is Coffee Break Photography. As well as running my successful photography workshop business, I also take photos for press. If, like me, you shoot as a freelancer, you only get paid if your pictures are used online or in print. And I believe the quicker you can get the photos landing on the picture desk, the more likely you will be used. Everything about my workflow is about turning around quality images fast, and today I'm going to share how I do it. The key to a fast turnaround is having helpful tools and preparation. And this week I'm shooting the run of an interview show, Ian Dale's All Talk, at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Over 8 days there will be 70-minute interviews with famous politicians and entertainers. I'm sure some of you won't agree with the people being interviewed, but that's lesson 1 of shooting for the press. You must be impartial and shoot a selection of images that can be used in the papers. The most important tool is Photo Mechanic. There might be a discussion over the best editing tool for photographers, but almost every professional photographer who sends images to newspapers will use Photo Mechanic. I start my workflow several hours before the shoot by creating a Caption template, and this will contain the important information that needs to be added to the photo metadata so the picture desks know what the picture is about, who's in it, who took it, and most importantly for me, how I can get paid when they use it. To create a template, open Photo Mechanic, go to the image menu and select the option metadata open bracket IPTC close bracket template. You can see here that I already have a template part configured. I found my images through an agency called Alamy, and they have a strict requirement as to how the caption should appear. I make this process fast by using the variables feature in Photo Mechanic. Anything with curly brackets around it is a variable field. You can see the complete list of fields available by clicking the variable button and then double clicking on the field to insert it into the template. In the caption field, Alamy always wants the information in a particular order. The city variable takes its feed from whatever is typed in the city field over here on the right hand side. If your camera has GPS activated, this info should be populated automatically when the photos are imported into Photo Mechanic. I don't trust how well my Canon R5 and R6 add this data, so I tend to type it in, as the city isn't going to change when I'm shooting at a single venue. And the same applies to the country field. The next 3 fields relate to the date the picture was taken. The date and time must be correct on your camera, as these fields are taken from the metadata added to the photo as your camera takes the pictures. I've then added some free text, the word pictured, which is again part of the Alamy requirements. They then want a short description of what is contained in the picture and another short description of the event that I'm shooting. The latter will be the same for all the photos from the event, but the former may change depending on what is included in the picture. For this reason, I tend to use 2 separate fields. The scene field describes what's in the photo, and is dragged in from whatever's typed in the IPTC scene down here. I'll leave this with a reminder for later, and the more generic caption will be taken from the extended description field, so I can fill this in before the event. I can fill in some other things before shooting, such as the headline field. Alamy requested the headline be in the following format: a general event description, the town or city, and country. As you can see, I'm pulling this data from the event field and the 2 location fields I've already used. I can also add keywords automatically to each image. Every one of these is being filled in from data fields. I've included the persons field, which is pulled in from the field below. I know that most of the pictures I will be taking will be of the person being interviewed rather than the interviewer, so I'll add the interviewee to the field before the event. The final info being added to the metadata template is included in every picture I shoot, and these are fields that identify me as a photographer, who I'm shooting for, copyright statements and contact information. We're ready to shoot, but as I might be shooting more than 1 event in a day, I always save this template to my hard drive using the Save button at the bottom of the template. So let's go and shoot. Each interview is 70 minutes long, but that doesn't mean I'll be shooting for the full 70 minutes. Typically, I'll have taken enough photos during the first half hour to use different angles, capture different expressions, and essentially tell the story in pictures of what happened. All the time I check that the shutter speed I'm using is fast enough to freeze motion. I also check that the interviewee hasn't got their eyes shut mid-blink in all the photos. But I'm not reviewing or chimping every picture taken. After I think I have enough in the bag to file, it's time to start editing. And the first job is to get the photos onto my laptop. I set it up so that when a card is inserted, it automatically opens the ingest screen. If it hasn't opened, for example, if you've left the template screen on, you can also use the key press Command and G on a Mac or Control and G on a PC. I have the ingest screen set the same way every time, so I only need to change two things. The first is to select the metadata template I want to add to the pictures, and the second is to set the number that the sequence number will start with. I always start with 001 as the first number. One of the great things about Photomechanic is how quickly it can load pictures onto the laptop and build a workable preview, which allows the next step in the process, culling. You can't teach this, and it'll only come with practice. I'll flick through the images that are being imported to determine whether I'm going to edit a picture or not. It's worth being overcritical rather than undercritical, so put yourself in the shoes of a picture editor. Will they flick through 200 shots of an event or 20? They have time pressures, so of course the correct answer is fewer great images rather than more average ones. If I'm going to edit a shoot, then I press the T button, which stands for tagged, and adds a tick in the bottom corner of the preview. I now need to add the information about what is included in each picture to the scene field. For this particular set of interviews, there are probably going to be three different contents, either the person being interviewed, the person doing the interview, or both of them together. All I need to do is select each image group, open up the metadata template again, and add the IPTC scene information. Click on the Apply template to select it adds the updated info to all the images. Once I've selected all the images to shoot and added the scene information, it's time to start editing. I choose all of the tagged images using this drop-down box to do this. Select all the photos using Command or Control and the A key, right-click anywhere and take the option Edit Selected Photos. I've told Photomechanic that my default editor will be Lightroom, and the usual import screen in Lightroom opens up. I use the Add option to import the photos into Lightroom, with the images staying in the same place that were imported onto my laptop in Photomechanic. I often push the ISO to be quite high when shooting in a dark venue, like the theatre where these interviews are being played. The first thing I'll do is to apply some noise reduction. I tend to use DxO Pure Raw for two reasons. The first is it does a great job of removing noise without affecting the sharpness of the image. And secondly, it is lightning fast, much faster than the noise reduction built into Lightroom itself. As an image is processed, it's added to a subfolder so I can make necessary edits. It's an adage to get it right in camera, which is true, but there'll always be minor tweaks. In this location, I might change the overall exposure depending on what the subject is wearing, maybe pull out some of the shadow information, and adjust the white balance if necessary. In a controlled lighting environment like these interviews, once I've determined the right edit for the room, it will be the same for the rest of the photos. To help with this, I use the Copy Settings from Previous function using Option Command and V or Alt Control and V on a PC. I have an export preset set up to write the edited files to my hard drive. It may surprise you, but the newspapers don't need the largest, best quality images. I write JPEG files with a 75% quality setting. The longest edge of the image is set to 2000 pixels and the resolution is 144 pixels per inch. And this is good enough to be printed on newsprint or used online. And it also reduces the file size, so it takes less time to send. I write the photos in a folder on my hard drive where all my press images are stored. Before I send the files to the picture desk, I want to check that the metadata attached still looks okay. It's usually the case, but nothing annoys the picture desk more than getting a photo without the correct data being attached. And I do this through Photomechanic, open the folder in a contact sheet and click the I button. I can then scroll quickly through the photos to check that they have the correct information added to the pictures. When I arrived at the venue, I checked that my laptop was connected to the internet. Logging onto the Alamy upload system, I selected the News option and can then drag the JPEG files from Photo Mechanic into the Upload Images box on the screen. A few seconds later, the images had been sent, so I press the Complete button, and that's my images with the picture desk. However, for this shoot, the job isn't over. I've been asked by a few outlets to send the photos directly to them. It's worth it for me, as Alamy does charge quite a large commission for distributing the images and chasing payments for images used. One day I might create a video about the pros and cons of Alamy and similar agencies, but that's not for today. The problem is that in the attached metadata, Alamy is the agency to include in the credit. It also doesn't tell the other outlets how to pay me. I have another template in Photo Mechanic that can help change the metadata. I've saved regularly used templates as a snapshot, which can be accessed by clicking the lightning bolt in the bottom corner. You can see that all it does is change the caption, but this time I've changed the credit field to Rich Dyson Photography. I've also added a field called Rights Usage Terms, and this field contains information about how the images can be used, as well as my bank account information. The only information I need to add is the city and country, so the caption field can pick up this information. I've selected all the JPEG files just sent to Alamy and then applied this new template to the images. They're then ready to send with amended information attached to them. This process took the time it took before the interview was completed. I shot the show, added the metadata, selected the images, edited them and sent them out all in less than an hour. So, does it work? Well, I guess the proof of the pudding is whether my photos got used, and here's a selection from last week showing my pictures in print, so I guess it does. If you've enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you could like it and share it by clicking on the thumbs up button below the video. That way, a few more people will get to see it. You can also subscribe to the channel by clicking on this button here. I send out a monthly newsletter to my subscribers with news about photography, as well as exclusive offers. Scan this QR code to sign up. My name is Rich Dyson from Edinburgh Photography Workshop, and this has been Coffee Break Photography. See you next time.